Per the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2023, the year I graduated college, the average entry level aerospace engineering salary was $76,000. Now, despite this being the average, I was still super intimidated by this number based on what I was hearing from other students, as well as general wariness going into the job market. But what I didn't realize at the time was that a few key decisions I'd made earlier on in college would actually lead me to make over $100,000 in my first year working as an engineer full time. In hindsight, I could recognize what these decisions were, and I'm super excited to share them with you in today's video. First, we're going to talk about the key realization and mindset shift early on that would inform these decisions going forward, and then the three decisions I think had the biggest impact on my entry level salary. So, without further ado, I'm going to throw some random video game gameplay on if you want to watch while you listen. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and yeah, let's get right into it. The fundamental realization I made early in school was the importance of leverage. Now, if you're friends with any business students, you've probably heard of this before, but for some reason, engineers don't talk about it as much. Here's a great description of what leverage is from serial entrepreneur Alex Hormozy.
But all of these things are about leverage. And so this is like one of my favorite topics in the whole world. But if we define leverage as the difference between what you put in and what you get out. So if you have a lot of leverage, you put a little bit in, you get a lot out. If you have no leverage or low leverage, you put a lot in, you get a little bit out. And a lot of times people who are listening to this and are not making as much money as they want, they're putting lots of input in and not getting a lot out. They have low leverage opportunities. And so understanding how to get more for what you put in is the game.
Sometimes it seems like engineers think they don't have a ton of leverage over how much they're compensated for the work they do. I think the general thought process is like the going rate for an engineer of my qualifications is X. Therefore, that's what I should expect to make, plus or minus some tolerance. And I honestly couldn't tell you how or why, but I realized early on in college there are actually tons of opportunities to increase the leverage of our work. And they stack. So the more of them we take advantage of, the more we'll be compensated as a whole. Yes, there are bounds on what we can reasonably expect given an experience level or skill set, but those bounds are a lot wider than people think, and achieving the upper bound is a lot more within our control than we realize. So now let's talk about the three decisions I think had the biggest impact on me, even exceeding the upper bound of what I expected as an entry level engineer. In case you haven't noticed, there's a ton of stuff to learn in engineering. So it's reasonable to assume that certain subjects are more or less commonly understood than others. And if knowledge and experience can range in terms of rarity, it can also range in terms of value. More rare, more specialized knowledge and experience can directly translate to higher compensation as long as it's relevant and applicable for your employer. Now, at first, I was actually afraid of specialization. Just as a basic example, I chose mechanical engineering as my major at first, despite only wanting to work in the aerospace industry because I wanted a more broad degree, because thinking it would lead to more career opportunities. But a difficult lesson I learned later is that at the entry level, at the types of jobs we're discussing here, knowing a little bit about a lot of things doesn't really translate well, right? We're not experienced yet to be given the keys to the kingdom, right? System level responsibility. So at this stage in our career, applicable detail level knowledge and experience is actually what's most valuable. So if you have a subject that you really like and you just want to focus all of your energy into, don't be afraid to do it, because in all likelihood, if you find the right employer and you're key to what they're working on, you will be compensated much better than if you were kind of good at a lot of things. Look, I'm going to keep this simple. Coding is the highest leverage skill you can learn in engineering school. Like it or not, just about all types of engineering are using coding in some way or another in today's world, whether it's running simulations and tests, automating routine tasks, or even just visualizing the data we collect. Coding is almost ubiquitous at this point. Now, I felt like early in school, people would kind of label themselves as good or bad at coding, kind of like how in high school, people label themselves as good or bad at math. Now, I think both of these are bogus, but to focus on the I'm bad at coding sentiment for a minute, I think I want to talk about two things. First of all, if you're good at engineering, you're probably also good at coding, or at least can be. Mathematics, attention to detail, and problem solving are a few of the key skills in both engineering and coding that can be transferred between the two seamlessly. That's number one. And number two, like I said earlier, coding is almost unavoidable at this point. If you want to be an engineer at some point or another, you're going to have to program a computer, whether it's something complicated or something really simple. So if you learn to code well, the times you have to do it will go more smoothly. And maybe, just maybe, if you get a lot better at it, you'll actually start to enjoy it more, right? So even if you don't like coding or want to be a software engineer, at this point, the highest paying jobs in our field will expect us to know how to code, at least somewhat. So avoid coding in general at your own peril. If you take the time to really invest in learning to code well, it will pay off in the long run. Interviewing, salary negotiation, resume prep, presenting yourself well. These are all extremely high leverage skills for our career. Now, we've all met engineers who can code circles around us or took calculus in eighth grade and can't answer basic interview questions. This is also known as having a conversation. Similarly, we've also all met engineers with great soft skills who get jobs that they may or may not be technically qualified for. Now, spoiler alert, those jobs that are above their pay, it's literally above their pay grade, will pay well than the ones they probably are qualified for. So basically, the person with great soft skills is getting paid to learn, while the person without great soft skills is not being paid for the things they already have learned, right? So this doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, if you can't communicate your work, you can't really be compensated well for it. So not only are these skills high leverage, they're also necessary if we want to be paid fairly for what we do. So we need to break the stereotype, right? Be a great engineer and be a great communicator. In engineering and in life, the higher leverage of the work we do, the more we'll be compensated for it. And this realization led me to make three particularly high leverage decisions in college. Number one was focusing on an area of what I study that I enjoyed and really specializing in it, really investing a lot of my energy there. Number two was embracing the fact that I'll have to code as an engineer, whether or not I'm a software engineer, computer programming is almost ubiquitous. Really embracing that and taking the time to learn to code well and taking the time to refine my soft skills so that when I go into negotiations with potential employers, I'm much more confident and come off much more strongly. These decisions ultimately led me to making six figures with 0 years of full time experience. I continue to try to increase the leverage of my efforts on a daily basis, and I'm confident that over the long course of my career, they'll pay off in dividends. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and leave a comment. If you're interested both in technical engineering content as well as career oriented stuff like this, please subscribe. I think you'll really enjoy this channel, and I think we'll all get a lot out of it. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.